Hey, welcome to my home. I'm Daniel Norton, a photographer here in New York. You guys probably see me a lot working in my studio in Manhattan. But for this project, which I'm going to do some macro photography, I thought it'd be fun to do at home. So Adorama asked me to do a video with these Venus Laowa lenses. I've got 3 different macro lenses, and I thought, while of course you can use macro for commercial work, and I do it all the time, this is the kind of project that on a cold winter's day, or if you just can't go out or whatever, it's just a fun thing to work on because macro allows you to take your environment and see it in a totally different way. And these lenses are very neat. You've probably seen me use macro lenses before, but here I've got kind of 3 very unique and very different lenses that we're going to work with. The first one is a 15mm lens. Now, if you've worked with wide-angle lenses before and you've worked with macro before, you probably haven't worked with both because most macro lenses are not wide-angle, meaning that you're going to stand back usually, and photograph your 100mm or whatever. You're back there photographing it. It's cool and it creates amazing images. But when you have a wide-angle lens, it allows you to step in and show environment around what's around you, which is super neat. So what I wanted to do was, I've got this, let's see if you guys can see. It's not going to be lit very well here, but you can at least see how big it is. You see that right there? It's like, what, about the size of my fingernail? That's a little person. So these are HO models, they call them. They're basically for train sets. I'm going to build a little scene around some beauty products with those models, and we're going to go in with the 15mm and capture that scene. In addition to that, I'm going to use their 100mm lens, which is a 2-to-1 macro. That means you're not just getting normal magnification, seeing it life size, that is, you're seeing it double life size. And if that wasn't enough, I also have the 25mm 2.5 to 5 times Ultra Macro. So this lens I'm just using to create some abstract, some really interesting stuff. But if you need to photograph really, really small stuff like bugs, I can just imagine this would be an amazing lens to use. For my purposes, because I'm trying to tie everything together into a project, I'm photographing just textures. And I find that can just be a really fun outlet. You take a high magnification lens like this, and like I said, I could sit here at my desk and find 50 pictures to make, because seeing something that close just changes the way you view it completely, and the way light hits it and your angle on it. It will all create a different and unique image. So macro photography can not only be great for projects and work, but it can just be fun just to kind of let loose and let your photography creativity go wild.
Normally when I'm working with macros, they're usually longer focal lengths, like 100, sometimes 50. What it's going to allow me to do for this project here, which we'll talk about in a second, is really get into it, right? I talk about this sometimes when we talk about street photography. Like, I like to use a wide lens so I can be in the environment as opposed to standing way back. So this is what we're doing here. I've got some little miniatures like you'd get like for if you're doing like model trains and stuff. They're little tiny scale miniatures, and these guys happen to be flying kites. And I decided to make a little scene. I took some blue paper and put it in the background. I put them in their various positions, and what I wanted to do was put them around some product. So I got a little kit, a little beauty kit of product, and I kind of used that as my set, kind of creating a park. So what would be a sponge for the face is now kind of like a big old tree in the background, and what is the thing for your eyelashes is just like a piece of maybe modern art, right? And my figures are there, they're kind of enjoying the day. I've got it lit up really simply with one dado light above. I do like to use constant light with this when I can, because it's going to allow me to really see what I'm getting. And while I have a pretty good grasp of where things are going to be, of course, with flash, I've been doing it for a long time. With this kind of precise movement, it's really nice to be able to see it. Plus, it also helps with the focusing, right? Because I'm going to be super close. Your focus is going to be key. So I use the live view generally on my camera, and I'll use the screen for it if I need to, and we'll get in real close, but I'm also tethered. Even though this is a fun project I'm doing, I'm still tethered in Capture One. I always like to tether my camera, which means that it's going directly to my computer. This is gonna give me basically full-size images in my computer immediately, so I can look at them and make sure everything's the way I want. I'm gonna shoot the scene the way I kind of have it in my brain, which is the one kind of person kind of close to the front in focus flying his kite, and then everybody else kind of falling off. But then I'll choose a few different focus areas, and then maybe I'll pick the camera up and mess around and handhold it a little bit, because my shutter speed is surprisingly not that slow here. So let's get to it. Okay, I turned off the lights in the space, so I'm a silhouette, because I don't want anything affecting my shot. I want that nice overhead light. And we can see, I've got this actually opened up in Capture One so you guys can see through the camera. And oh, I touched the table. And you can see, I can zoom, I can focus in and out, but see how close I am and how it really puts me into the scene. I decided to get real low and let that kind of like interesting wide angle like depth come in. And I also dropped the light down kind of low, so I'm getting a bit of a frame around top with the shadow. I'm getting a bit of a vignette. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because I see this again like a movie. So I think I'm gonna crop the 16 by 19, which 16 by 9 I should say, which we'll do in a second. But let me get a frame so I can show you guys. So I'm gonna close this over here. I'll look at the back of the camera here. I like to use the focus peaking for this, but of course you can put your face right against it if you want. I am at about 5.6, 50th of a second, 100 ISO, and we'll take a shot. All right, that looks great. I'm gonna check my focus. Oh yeah, nice. And then I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna put a crop on it. Because like I said, I think that I like the idea of this thing feeling like it's part of a movie. So I'm gonna go 16 by 9 crop. Like this. And and of course, clearly it's not actually the sky behind them, so I like that I've got some contrast there. If you wanted the background to be more even, I could just raise my light up, But I like it like this. And now that I put that crop on, it should stay in all my shots. So this looks good. I like it. I like the way it looks. I'm just gonna look for any adjustments I might make. Like for instance, if you want to move something, I can move this tree over here a little bit maybe. And we'll take another shot. I'm not touching anything, so everything should stay the same. And now we've moved it. I also have this little brush, which is probably hard to see, obviously. Let's see what that looks like instead. So I've got some options here, Well, that's kind of neat. I think it contrasts too much, though. I kind of set this whole thing up with the idea of this color palette. So we're going to go here, put this where I like it. Also notice that the reason why I focused on that guy, now granted, it is not an absolute perfect focus, but you can see the brand name ELF off to the side that's creating that little like fence area. All right, so let me make sure I get this guy. And of course I could close down my aperture to get more in focus, but I kind of like it where it is here at about 5.6. I want that bit of shallowness to it. So let's just play around. Let me focus on, let's say, one of the people in the back. Let's say this girl back here, the one in the middle. So she's kind of in the middle. If I wanted to single her out, I could do that pretty easily. And that gets that. Although, to be honest, I mean, it's a macro lens, right? So we really like the idea of focusing on something super close to the screen. What if I focus on this guy right up in the front? He's a bit shadow to me, but I think he'll be good like that. Yeah, there he is. And now he becomes the subject of our story, right? He's actually a little bit. I gotta move the camera back a smidge. Okay. I was bumping into the, bumping into the thing. I was so close to it. There we go. Yeah. Wow. That's like just focused on his shoulder, basically. And again, I could close down. I think, again, that's too much. Although, maybe what could be cool would be to actually put him maybe in the front like this. So we're going to kind of see from his perspective. See what that looks like. Oh yeah, I kind of like that actually. I like that with him even a bit out of focus. But let me see if I get him sharp first. Yeah, I like that actually. Now we've got the perspective of this kid, right? I'm assuming it's a kid, yep. And he's looking off into the, and of course, right, again, I have it cropped, so I may adjust my crop a little bit to show his legs. There we go. Right, and we can play around with this, and again, I can go back to my original idea, which was focusing on the guy in the white shirt. Good. And if I do that, then I'm going to want to, again, adjust my crop. And this is all just very, very simple to do. Just like that. Okay, well, to go along with my springtime, we'll call it that, kite flying, I decided to do a snowball fight. I found some powder, some beauty powder, which is basically white, and I was like, ooh, that'd be good for snow. So I've just got the little compact, the little beauty compact. I took my little figures and I kind of walked them around it a bit to break it up so it kind of looked like snow. And I put the little snowball fighters on there. For this, I'm using the 100mm. If you want to isolate things, a longer lens can work better. So here I'm using the 100mm. I'm also shooting more closed down because I want to keep things a little bit tighter, like a little bit more stuff in focus, because it's a kind of a tighter scene. So we got a little snowball fight here. So again, I'm in Tapture 1, and yeah, I'll show you what we got here. So at this point, I did a couple of changes to the light, right? I I moved it to one side, and I also removed the diffusion, because now it's the winter, right? And in the winter, the sun is never really above you. It's kind of always, you know, if you're in a place where it snows. It basically is to one side. It's low in the sky, basically. And also, winter light tends to be really punchy. So I'm leaving that. Let me turn off the light in the space here again so I can have more control. So this is basically what we're getting. Right now I'm focused on the snowman, but of course I could focus on any of the, like the let's say the closer child slash snowman is there. And then I could move it in, or I should say the other way, and focus on the group in the back if I wanted. You know, so there's the 3 kids throwing the stuff. So it depends on what you want to get in focus. Again, when you're this close, I can close on all the way and get most of it in focus, but you know, part of the macro thing is keeping it nice and shallow. So I think I want to pick something. I think I like the idea of this one child that's in the front running forward as kind of my main focus, if you will. Then it drops off into the snowman, and you can see, because this child wants to join the snowball fight, right? So let's take that shot. I'm at 1/8 of a second here, so it's a little bit slower. So I'm actually going to use Capture One to make the photo, so I'm not touching the camera. Nice. Check my exposure. I want to keep it bright because, of course, it's snow. I want to get that feel, but I also don't want to lose detail. So maybe I'll go a tiny bit slower on the shutter. Try another one. Yeah, and then I can bring my whites up. Yeah, I like that. So this is actually a 2-to-1 macro. So let me get a couple shots like this first, but ultimately we can really punch in on this if we so desire. Yeah, I kind of like that. In a way, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like everything the way it is. I'm gonna take one more shot to be safe. There we go. And yeah, let's mess around now. So again, this is a 2-to-1 macro, so I can really get in. Let's see. Let's do a portrait of the snowman. That's better. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, the quality of the detail of the snowman's face is not great, but this lens is really sharp. We can see all the little, let's do one more. I'm gonna do it from here. Yeah, we can see all the texture here. And you can actually even see like how quickly it drops off into be out of focus there. And that's really, really beautiful. And the color button, I even like that blue back there. So yeah, overall, I'm really digging this. So yeah, you know, something simple, right? And this could be flower. I mean, it could be anything, really. It just happens to be, I'm, again, trying to tie this in with the beauty product idea, but it really could be just about anything. This lens I've really been wanting to mess with. This is the 25mm Ultra Macro. So you're talking 2.5 to 5 times enlargement. You know, I often say with macro that like, you're kind of exploring and seeing things you don't normally see. You can take almost anything, right? And do even like a 1-to-1 macro, and it looks so different and so interesting. But at 2.5 to 5, you see things that you didn't think you'd see before. So what I actually have here, that I'm messing with here, is this makeup palette. So, you know, I can see with my eyes it's sparkly or whatever. I know there's texture there on some level, but man, when we zoom into this thing, it's just a whole different thing. It's like basically an abstract art. So I did find that, you know, because I want to get a bit of depth of field and stuff here, that, and I'm hitting it with the hard light, that I felt like the constant light was getting too much camera shake because I was going to really slow shutter speeds. So what I've decided to do here instead is switch to a flash. So I have an Elechrome strobe up here. It's just a hard light pointed at it. And you can, I've got a controller here so I can point it. So let me just show you what we got here. So I'm gonna, you know, in order to make it interesting, you could do it flat, of course, but in order to make it interesting, I always find putting things at kind of an angle when you do shallow depth of field is nice. So I'm gonna move this thing in. Let's kind of show you guys. Okay. And we can see, right, as I move it around, we've got that little slice of focus. And what I can do is pick the part of the focus that I want. And of course I can go whatever angle I like on this. So actually I'm gonna start with one of the matte ones first. So the very first one is matte. Let's see if we'll get this like this. slide this in. So I'm eyeballing it like this first to get my general idea. I'm gonna close this guy so I can actually work on this. And we can see that we're getting this really cool, you can see that texture in there. It's so interesting. And it's just like a very funky situation. I'm at f4. I'll close down to 5.6. Maybe get a little bit more. There we go. You can see that. It's also, of course, obviously a little bit darker. I actually think I like it darker, so I'm gonna leave it at 5.6 for now. And we can just play around a little bit. Maybe I'll move the focus a little closer to me. Essentially creating just interesting compositions. Finding something in objects that you didn't know existed. Basically creating something that is unique and that you wouldn't normally have seen. What I think is really interesting in the way this reacts to the camera are these sparkly ones. The sparkle in this really seems to create this like weird abstract, almost metallic-y looking thing. Oh yeah, look at that. That's crazy looking. And you can see all that sparkle. It's like you wouldn't really even necessarily know what it is in a lot of levels, which I think is part of the fun of this. But we could really do this with just about anything. So this makeup I think is cool because it fits into our project, if you will, that we're doing. But of course you can do anything. Any fabric also can tend to look really cool when it's seen like just very, very, very up close like that. Coins, of course, is a classic. But it's just so fun. It's so interesting. And then I have these like really nice, soft, pretty colors here, like this pink. Yeah. So interesting and so cool.
Well, that was super fun. What'd you think, guys? What do you like to shoot with macro? Are these lenses interesting to you? Do you have any of them? Or do you have a current macro lens that you use? And what do you shoot with it? What's your main, idea? Do you shoot insects? Do you shoot textures? Do you shoot people with them? What is it that you use your macro lenses for? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to Adorama TV and ring the bell to get all the new notifications. And I'll see you next time.